Welcome to a ruined chapel by moonlight. I'm your host, Bertold Gambrel. And today we're reviewing Their Names Were Many by Peter Martuneac. This is the third book in the His Name Was Zach series. Be warned, I can't really talk about what happens in it without spoiling aspects of the first two books. After helping to inspire a revolution against the tyrannical government, Abby, our protagonist, has retreated into the desert, living alone with only her guilt and trauma. But when the new president summons her back on a mission to scout out the zombie-ravaged American Midwest, she takes it as a chance to finally confront many of her demons. So Abby, along with her boyfriend Hayamovi and a squad of Marines, head out into the wild, and Abby retraces the steps she took in the previous books in the series, confronting old adversaries and painful memories. The story is structured explicitly as a quest, and that's really what it feels like, a band of modern-day knights on an epic journey. Eventually, Abby and the others reach their objective, Chicago, which is doing surprisingly well considering it was the epicenter of the zombie outbreak, and even more when it turns out to be managed by none other than Edmund, a murderous gangster from the first book. Edmund really is a fascinating character. Read what I said about him in my review of the first book. Now imagine such a personality in charge of a whole city. He's basically a Caesar, and not a good one. He's much more of a Commodus than a Marcus Aurelius, right down to the gladiatorial matches. There's a lot more I could say about Edmund, but it would fall into spoiler territory. Maybe someday, after this series has become a bestseller and everyone has read it, I'll come back and write a whole essay about this character and what I think he represents. This is another strange feeling for me. I never think characters represent things. And yet, while I was reading the story, the thought came to me, unbidden, that, well, never mind. As noted above, the real core of the book is Abby confronting her demons, including both things that were done to her and things that she did. In that regard, the book reminded me of one of my favorite works of fiction, Knights of the Old Republic 2. Come on, it's been a while since I brought that up. Did you think I could hold off forever? As you've probably heard me say 1,000 times, it's a story about a veteran soldier confronting all the horrors of their past. It's a powerful theme for any epic story, and Their Names Were Many is a marvelous take on it. Abby faces a number of terrifying enemies during her journey. Besides Edmund, you've got the mad preacher Isaiah, who has only gotten crazier since we last saw him, not to mention the zombie hordes that still roam the wild. But none of them are the primary antagonist, not even Edmund. No, that role is played by someone else, a truly terrifying being, and Abby's final confrontation with this entity is the most intense scene in the whole series, not least because of where it takes place. Taken as a whole, the series went in a very different direction than I expected when I first picked up His Name Was Zach, and I was really impressed by how it evolved. I thought it would be a fairly ho-hum zombie apocalypse tale, but what it became was something much bigger, much more unique, and altogether more memorable. When I first discovered the author's blog, I remember seeing he was influenced by Tolkien, which surprised me at first. Why would a fan of a high fantasy epic be writing a military zombie apocalypse dystopia? But in the end, I saw a lot of Tolkien-esque ideas throughout the series, from the smallest things to some of the major themes. Another essay, perhaps, for after these books get famous. Although the series goes to some dark, dark places, its theme is ultimately an uplifting one, and I'm really glad I read it. I'm sure I'll remember it for a long, long time.